and welcome to today's Power Hour, the last, sadly, the last of 2024. We've got a packed agenda for you today with a lovely presentation from the Digital and Technology Standards team. Next slide, please. So just before we make a start, just to run through the usual housekeeping, to let you know the session is being recorded and you will receive a copy of the recording and the slides after the event. So if you'd like to ask any questions at any time during the event, just use the chat box. And if you know who your question's directed to, that's even more helpful. Now, we can't answer any questions that are specific to your particular trust, but we will be popping a generic contact email in the chat box should you need to get in touch with us. So we might not publish all the most similar questions, but if you like a question, if it resonates with you, then please use the upvote button and we'll try and answer as many of the most popular questions and as many others as possible. At the end of the event, there will be a Tell Us How You Did survey. That's a really important part because that helps us to shape these events and bring you the topics that you'd like to hear more about. So I'll just hand over now to the team. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Lara Lecourte-Billo and I work as a policy advisor at the Department for Education. I've been with the department for around 9 months, but prior to that I worked as a teacher in both primary and secondary schools for over 8 years. So today what we're going to be covering are 2 aspects of our service. The first is around the DFE Digital and Technology Standards, which are a set of 11 standards supporting schools to understand the technology that they should have in place and the requirements that that technology should meet to ensure a safe, secure and reliable digital environment for all staff and pupils within the school. We're going to be talking through what the digital and technology standards are, why they are relevant to you, and how they can support you in your role. The DFE Digital and Technology Standards support you with the what, but we also want to provide more support with the how. So based on that, we have recently launched a new service called Plan Technology for Your School, which provides that support on the how. And that's going to make up the second part of our Power Hour today. So as I said, I will be speaking to you about the digital and technology standards, and then I'm going to hand over to my colleagues Adam and Sasha to speak to you about Plan Technology for Your School. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what are the digital and technology standards and how can they help you to get safe and reliable tech? Next slide, please. The 11 digital and technology standards are a core set of standards developed to support schools and colleges to understand their digital environment and to know what type of technology that they should have in place. They will help you to understand the minimum requirements that your technology should meet, and as outlined in the box on the left-hand side of the slide, they're to be used by everyone involved in planning and the use of technology within schools and colleges. Meeting the standards can help schools to make more informed decisions about technology, leading to safer, more cost-efficient practices and new learning opportunities for students. So they were designed to help schools know what good looks like, and they help you to understand what you need to consider, the benefits and risks, and what to ask from your suppliers. So, for example, they can help you to provide detail of what sort of cabling or firewall you need to your supplies. Next slide, please. Thank you. These standards should be used as guidelines to support your school and college to use the right digital infrastructure and technology. For ease of understanding, we have grouped the 11 standards into 3 buckets, although we don't present them this way in line. So they are connectivity in purple. On the right in pink is efficiencies and optimization, and in the middle in blue is safety and security. Over the next few slides, we are going to be zooming in on 4 of the standards that may be most relevant to your role as a school business professional, leader, or chief financial officer. So under each heading, for example, leadership and governance, there are standards that then sit underneath it. helpful information such as the importance of meeting the standard, how to meet the standards, and the technical requirements are included. We've developed these standards and our new plan technology for your school service in collaboration with the sector to make sure that they're as relevant and useful to you as possible. And we always think about the standards as being the foundation of technology in schools. So to be able to realise the full benefits of technology, including capitalising on the edtech market and utilising generative AI, schools first need to have that safe and reliable technology in place. Next slide, please. So how and why are the standards relevant to your role, and where can they be most useful to you? Next slide, please. Thank you. So anyone involved in the planning of technology in a school can make use of the digital and technology standards. The role of a school business professional in meeting these standards and for schools and colleges is crucial for several reasons. So, for example, your role might involve strategic planning. You may play a key role in strategic planning in your school or trust, which might involve helping to develop a digital technology strategy that aligns with your school's overall development plan. And the standards can help you with this. So your input might include keeping registers relating to hardware and systems up to date and contributing to the disaster recovery and business continuity plans. Your role might also involve budget management, and it's likely to make up a good proportion of your role. So you might, for example, be responsible for budgeting for technology procurement and maintenance, and that might include ensuring that the school has the necessary resources to implement and maintain digital technology. The standards can help you understand the tech requirements so that you're able to make the most of the budget that you have available to you. Your role might also involve risk management. So you might be responsible for conducting or ensuring that IT support have conducted a cyber risk assessment annually and that they're reviewing that every term. This is essential because it helps to identify potential risks and helps you to put measures in place to be able to mitigate them. And your role might also include ensuring that new equipment is correctly installed through liaising with the ICT supplier or your in-house support team. Your role might also include staff training. So you may play a key role in providing training for all staff on things like general data protection regulation requirements and cyber threats. This training can help your staff to understand and adhere to the DfE's digital and technology standards. Finally, your role might involve monitoring and evaluation. So you may be asked to monitor the school's adherence to the DfE digital and technology standards, and this might include regularly reviewing your school's digital technology strategy and making necessary adjustments. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we are now going to zoom in on the key standards that might be most relevant to your role. So we're going to be zooming in on 4 today. They are the digital leadership and governance standards, the connectivity standards, which cover both broadband and Wi-Fi, cybersecurity standards, and finally, laptops, desktops, and tablets. For each standard that I'm going to be talking to you about, that will be split into 2 slides. So the first slide will cover the benefits of the standards and include a quote from our user research. And the second will outline what the standards cover and some practical, useful questions that you might be able to ask of your senior leadership team or suppliers to make sure that you are meeting those standards. So the first standard that we are going to zoom in on is leadership and governance. On the left, I have outlined some of the key elements that the digital leadership and governance standards support your school to do, and on the right are some of the key benefits associated with meeting those standards. So the leadership and governance standards support assigning roles and responsibilities. In order to develop a comprehensive digital strategy that is led by the needs of staff and students, schools and colleges should assign a member of their SLT or senior leadership team to oversee its implementation. And we do understand that every school is different and that there might be several people in your school working on digital technology. But the most important point to make here is that assigning roles and responsibilities help schools to prioritise and plan technology, including supporting staff to implement that digital technology. Secondly, the leadership and governance standards support developing a digital strategy. So schools need a plan to coordinate the leadership, resources and training to use technology, and your digital technology should be aligned with your school's development plan. Reactive spending can be expensive and can present poor value for money, but planning in advance can help with the budgeting and implementing technology with the greatest longevity, as well as supporting maintenance and refresh plans. The leadership and governance standards will also support you to maintain registers, including a contract register, an asset register, and information asset register. These can provide valuable insights into the digital data, equipment, and system used in your schools or college, and it is crucial for implementing the other standards. Registers can facilitate effective management of these assets and help to keep track of your purchasing and licensing, ultimately saving money when you're renewing your software and hardware. It is also worth noting at this point that an information asset register is a requirement under your data protection responsibilities. Finally, the leadership and governance standards can support you with disaster recovery and business continuity plans, which ensure that schools and colleges can quickly recover and continue operations in the event of a disaster or disruption, which is again crucial for implementing those other standards. You should have a process in place to review and update the disaster recovery and business continuity plans, including those related to your digital technology. It is always best to be prepared for the worst case scenario when it comes to cyber incidents or other emergencies. So to ensure business continuity, it's a really good idea to print out hard copies of your disaster recovery and business continuity plans, including the summary documents. And it's a good idea to keep these documents in a secure shared folder in the cloud and making sure that remote access is granted to your disaster recovery team as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. On the right-hand side of the slide, in the dark blue box, I've outlined what the digital leadership and governance standards include. There is additional information on our digital and technology standards page on the gov.uk website, which hopefully one of my colleagues will be able to share with you in the Q&A. On the left-hand side, there are some potential questions that may be helpful to ask to ensure that your school is meeting the standards. And we will be sharing this presentation with you after the event, so you will have access to the questions, so no need to note them down. Next slide, please. We are now going to zoom in on the connectivity standards, which, as I mentioned previously, covers broadband and Wi-Fi. We believe that connectivity is the foundation on which all other technology sits. Good Wi-Fi allows portable devices like laptops and tablets to be used in every classroom within the school, which can amplify good teaching practices and support a cross-curricular approach to digital skills. The broadband standards outline information about the broadband your school should have in place, including the minimum speeds that your broadband should meet. Fast, reliable broadband supports teaching, learning, and those administration needs. Your contract that you have should state what type of broadband you have, and knowing this information can help you to work out if your school needs to upgrade its broadband, which can involve investment. The broadband standards will also help you to assess your backup broadband. So backup broadband is an additional broadband connection that your school can use if your primary broadband fails for any reason. It should keep your school's core operations running until your primary broadband is fixed. Finding out if your school does have backup broadband connection could include working out if your school needs to install or upgrade its backup broadband, which again can involve investment. We'll now move on to the Wi-Fi standards. Having a reliable, secure and widely available wireless network that is centrally managed can help your school to do several things, including supporting quality teaching and learning, reducing the risk of cybersecurity incidents and avoiding disruption to online activities, can reduce the risk of losing internet access, which also of course can disrupt learning. It can also help you to easily and securely manage users and guest access. And finally, it can support making time and cost savings. A reliable Wi-Fi network will reduce the amount of external IT support that your school needs, and it will also support moving to the cloud, which can come with efficiencies in terms of staff time and costs. So, for example, moving to the cloud will allow you to take advantage of energy-saving features, which ultimately will save money as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. We know that upgrading Wi-Fi networks can be a significant cost, so it is really important to get it right. Again, I've included some suggestions of questions that you can use to check Wi-Fi documents or subscriptions, or you can ask your IT support to help you. The technical specifications on the standards are something that you can take directly to suppliers to ask them to ensure that those specifications are met. The standards on wireless can help when you're assessing where your school is currently in relation to them, and can help you to plan ahead and understand what work needs to be done in the coming years. In the blue box, I've also outlined the connectivity standards, which, as I mentioned, covers both broadband and wireless standards. Next slide, please. Thank you. The next standard that we're going to focus on is cybersecurity. Unreliable technology makes schools really vulnerable to cyber attacks, and ransomware is the biggest threat facing the education sector, with over 120 incidents being reported since August 2023. As I'm sure that you know, schools are critically dependent on technology and online services, but we do know that it's a challenge to maintain IT infrastructure, processes, and cyber awareness, which unfortunately means that schools become easier targets for cyber criminals. Meeting the cybersecurity standards reduces the risk of these cyber attacks and helps schools to increase their cyber resilience. The cybersecurity standards can support your school to carry out a cyber risk assessment to ensure that those risks are mitigated and prevented. Cyber incidents are expensive and can cost a school thousands of pounds. In this case, the old saying of prevention is better than cure is very relevant. Unfortunately, school business professionals and chief financial officers are most likely to be targeted by phishing emails as they handle the money within a school. It is therefore particularly important for them to do their cyber training and be aware of the best practice for cyber so that they can be a line of defence to protect their school. Cyber attacks might also mean that a school can't open and school officers can't take calls. Pupils' data might be leaked, leading to safeguarding incidents. In 2022, 1 in 5 schools were infected by viruses, spyware, or malware. And in the cybersecurity breacher survey in 2024, over half of primary schools and almost 3/4 of secondary schools identified a cyber breach or attack within the last year, which is an increase from the last cyber breacher survey. Meeting these cybersecurity standards will help mitigate these risks and ensure that the pupils in your school can continue to learn safely. Finally, the cybersecurity standards can support developing a data backup plan. Having a data backup plan in place means that if a cyber incident does occur, important data can be restored and pupils can continue learning and business in the school can continue as usual. The standards will help you to meet the 3-2-1 rule of data backup, which is 3 copies of data on 2 separate devices, with at least one of those being off-site. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you might find the following questions useful to ask your IT technician or third-party technician service. And asking these questions will help you to assess where your school is in relation to meeting the standards and will support safe and reliable technology in your school. And just another reminder that we will be sharing these slides after the power hour, so you will have access to all of these questions. Again, the cybersecurity standards are outlined in the blue box on the right. Next slide, please. The final standard that we are going to be zooming in on today are the laptops, desktops, and tablet standards. Schools have autonomy of choice on the type of devices that they purchase and use, and it can be a really important part of how schools deliver their teaching and learning. We also know that laptops, desktops, and tablets can be extremely expensive and a costly investment, and that often school business professionals have responsibility for that procurement. The laptop, desktop, and tablet standards outline that schools should think about how they plan on using devices before purchasing them. So device strategies that are not implemented properly could lead to worse learning outcomes for pupils. Devices that are not fit for purpose are less likely to be used, leading to poor value for money. The laptop, desktops, and tablet standards can also support with implementing safe and secure devices. Devices that are not properly secured and don't have appropriate filtering and monitoring systems in place can increase the risks of safeguarding issues and the risks of cyber attacks and data breaches as well. I'm sure again that I don't need to tell you that cyber attacks can be extremely costly. All new devices must be compatible with existing filtering, monitoring, and security systems. And if existing devices are not compatible with existing filtering, monitoring, and security systems, it's a really good idea to look for alternative solutions before using that device. We also know that it can be really difficult to plan for and choose the best devices for your school. Ensuring that devices that you intend to purchase meet or exceed the requirements in the standards mean that you can feel confident in the knowledge that the devices are safe, secure, stable, and reliable. Ensuring that devices meet the specifications lowers the likelihood of malware, ransomware, potential data breaches, and present good value for money. Devices can be one of the biggest sources of energy used in schools or colleges. If the standard is not met, there is a risk of increased costs by using more energy than you need, creating unnecessary waste, and it can also negatively impact the environment. Taking an energy efficient approach to buying, setting up, using, and disposing of those devices can help with cost savings and sustainability. Next slide, please. Thank you. Again, this slide covers some useful questions to ask of your senior leadership team and IT suppliers to support you with meeting the laptops, desktops, and tablet standards. I also want to draw your attention to the QR code on the bottom right-hand side of the page, and that will take you to a Get Help Buying for Schools page. The Get Help Buying for Schools offers free and impartial advice from DfE procurement specialists. And that service includes a team of procurement specialists that can save you time and money by offering free support when you're buying any goods or services for your school. So the procurement specialist can offer advice and guidance to make sure that you are buying compliantly at any point, even if your procurement process is already in progress. I really hope that this presentation has given you a good overview of what the digital and technology standards are, how they're relevant to your role, and hopefully some practical materials to help your school in meeting them. As I mentioned previously, and as we've heard from our users, the digital technology standards support schools with what they need to do. But we also knew that more support was needed on the how. In response to this, we have developed and recently launched our Plan Technology for Your School service, which aims to support your school in meeting the digital and technology standards. I'm now going to pass over to my colleagues Adam and Sasha to talk you through how it works. And just to say thank you so much for taking the time today to join us, and over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Laura. So welcome everyone. I hope that was helpful. I'm here to speak to you a little bit more about the service Laura's mentioned, Plan Technology for Your School. So move to the next slide, please. So to support schools further in meeting these standards that we've talked through today and accessing the opportunities as well that technology brings, we launched a new service. This is called Plan Technology for Your School. The service is free to use. And has been developed with school leaders and technical experts to help all schools understand the condition of their existing technology, identify where they can gain the most by making improvements, see why and how it matters and what benefits can bring, and understand how and where to start in making those changes. To find the service, you can just search Plan Technology for Your School on gov.uk, or you can scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. Anyone that's involved in improving technology in a school can make use of the service, including school business professionals, senior leadership teams, IT leads, IT support, network managers, and also governors. Schools can make use of the service to get personalised recommendations on how to develop their technology, helping you make more informed decisions about the technology you have and supporting you to create safe and secure environments for staff and learners. Plan Technology for Your School aims to help schools meet DfE's digital and technology standards, which, as Laura has talked about already today, can lead to more cost-efficient practices improve reliability of technology. We'd welcome everyone to try and use the service. Just a quick flag that you'll need DfE sign-in to use this, but we have guidance within the service as to how you can help set that up. By using the service, we hope you can help to understand where you are against the standards that we've talked through today. And at the moment, you can assess yourself against a smaller set of standards than all of the ones we've spoken about. We're adding to this over time, and as a live service, we'll continue to expand on this over the coming weeks. And soon, we hope to be releasing filtering and monitoring as another standard you'll be able to assess yourself against within the service. As I say, we're expanding the service over time to support schools across more and more aspects of developing and managing a digital strategy. If you'd like to be part of our research to support this, we'll add a link to sign up to that in the chat. And doing this will help us make sure we continue to build a service around your needs and create a service which works around yourselves. I'll now hand over to my colleague Sasha, who's going to give you a demo of the service and show you a little bit more about how it works. Sasha, I think you're on mute, so you may just want to jump back to the start there. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, thank you everybody for joining, and thank you to Adam and Lara for talking about the service. I'm going to show you how it works. So you can put in Plan Technology for Your School or simply School Technology into the search engine, and you can see the second result, the .gov.uk result, takes you to the page where there are initiatives listed in that area that the department has put forward. Here there are the digital and technology standards. As Lara has said, they describe what good looks like in terms of school technology, but we have gone further than that, and we have created the Plan Technology for Your School service. You do need a DfE sign-in in order to access it. If you don't already have an account, you can register for one here. I already have an account, so I will sign into the service. So this service is still in development. There are more things to come, and the next one is going to be filtering and monitoring. For this service, the next topic is going to be filtering and monitoring. Let's just have a look at what the questions look like. For example, part of the leadership and governance standard, roles and responsibilities. The first page tells you a little bit about how to prepare for answering questions on this topic, whom to involve, a little bit about the benefits of meeting this particular part of the standard, and what you might need to find out before you start answering these questions. So, do you have someone in your school who is responsible for overseeing digital technology? I do have a person like that. Is this person part of your senior leadership team? They are. Are their agreed responsibilities recorded in a format that can be shared? I'm not sure. Does the person responsible for digital technology work with other stakeholders? They do. And is there a formal process where you can discuss and challenge proposals when making decisions about digital technology? Well, let's say we do have a process like that at our school, but it's not a formal one. then it allows me to check and change my answers. And if I save my my answers here, it takes me back to the first page, and you could see that you've got a new recommendation. So let's have a look at that. Okay, there are 5 different kind of bits of recommendations there. I'm not going to go through them all, but let's have a look at support and challenge in terms of digital proposals, because there I said we don't really have an official forum for that. So the recommendation is to introduce such a forum because it's a shared responsibility within the school. It also suggests how often meetings should take place, for example, at least once a term, and more often if there are important digital technology changes. So if you need to discuss something, you can also have a look at all the recommendations. You can print them out, you can download them and share them with the stakeholders at your school, as I'm sure you would need to do, because there are a lot of people within the school who will be involved in making decisions about your digital technology. And at last, I would like very much to invite you to use this service, to have a look at it. And we always welcome any feedback. Thank you very much, and I will now hand over back to Pam, please.
Hi, thank you. That was really informative. So I'd just like to say a huge thank you to our presenters, Lara, Adam and Sasha, for delivering such an informative presentation on digital and technology standards, really important part, as I'm sure you'll agree, of policy in schools. I hope you found that useful. Sorry, can we have the next slide, please? Do we have the next slide, please? I'm just waiting for the feedback slide to come up. And then we're going to ask you to give us your comments and your opinion, because that's really vital in helping us to bring you useful information on it and advice on the topics that really you'd like some help with. So just bear with me a second. I'll just find out where our links have gone to. Colleagues, do we have the links to the feedback survey, please, that we can share? I can't see it, I'm afraid. I can't see it on my screen. Perhaps if someone else can see it, could you give me a thumbs up? Can't see it this end. Perhaps if we could post it into the chat, colleagues. Are we able to post the link in the chat? And we'll just stop there for a few moments just to pause and see if we can bring up the feedback form. Apologies about this. We are not the experts, as I'm sure you can tell. There we are. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Okay, so if you've got your mobile device to hand, if you can scan the QR code or use the link in the presentation there, please do give us your feedback. As I say, it's vital. And all of the topics that we've brought to you over the last 12 months have been topics that you have asked us that you'd like some help with. So fantastic. Okay. So I'm just about to hand over now to bring the presenters back on screen, and we've got some time for some questions and answers. So let's have a look. Okay. I think the chat's been quite quiet today. Perhaps the presentation was so comprehensive, it's covered everything that you can think of. But if there is something, by all means, do get in touch with the contact details that we've shared.
Thank you very much, Pam. Perhaps to try and encourage some more questions, I can just start off by covering one of our frequently asked questions around the digital and technology standards. So one of the common questions that we get asked is, are these standards going to become mandatory? So it's important to note that the digital and technology standards themselves are not statutory, but some, like the filtering and monitoring standards, relate to statutory requirements that schools do need to meet. So you might have seen those linked to in Keeping Children Safe in Education, for example. There is also an expectation within the Academies Trust Handbook that all trusts are working towards meeting the cyber standards as well. I don't know if we have had any other questions come up in the Q&A or in the chat.
There's one, I think it's been answered, but I think we'll just cover it anyway, Lara. James has asked about if there's any plans to split the standards between primary and secondary, because they're likely to have very different needs, with secondary likely to have an on-site team, so have that technology base, whereas primary needs will be different. They may have don't necessarily need remote access, so primary will have perhaps an IT technician visiting. Is that something that you can respond to, please?
Thanks so much for that question, Sam. Sorry, Pam. In the meantime, just before I answer, would it be okay to ask Daryl to start sharing his screen again? I'm just sharing my screen at the moment. That would be really helpful, and then I'll get on to that answer for you. So in relation to that question that was asked, any plans to split the standards between primary and secondary? We are mindful that there are those different contexts across the school sector. And as I mentioned previously, I started my career in a primary school and ended up teaching in a secondary school. So I am very, very much aware that those contexts are very different. Within the standards currently, there are already some variations between the different standards. So, for example, we recommend 100 Mbps download speed for primary schools and 1 gig for secondary schools. Currently, we don't have additional plans to split those standards further, but it is something that we are constantly keeping under review, and it is really helpful to have that question asked.
That's great. Thanks very much, Lara. Another one's come in and says, what's the best way forward to help with moving from Windows 10 into Windows 11? Is that something you're able to help with?
Sorry, Pam, is that a question? Is that a question for me?
Sorry, yes, it was, what's the best way forward to help with moving from Windows 10 into Windows 11? Is that something that your team would cover, Lara?
Yes. So there is actually patching available that Trust might already be aware of. That patching is £1 for the first year, £2 for the second year, and £3 for the third year. So while that transition is happening, those patches are available for schools to make use of. I have actually also seen that there is another question that's been posted in the chat around cybersecure. And the question is, how do the standards link to cybersecure, and is cybersecure referenced in the standards? So I'll just pick that one up as well. So cybersecure is not mentioned within the standards, but it is a DFE funded school tool. So for that reason, we do encourage schools to use it. And that tool has been designed specifically for schools and keeping schools in mind. So it provides a really relevant baseline for schools to determine their cyber resilience. And it is an interactive tool, so it can be used within school improvement and business planning processes as well.
Lovely, thanks very much, Lara. Just having a quick look through the chat, see what else we've got coming in. May not be able to answer this one, but someone's asked if there will be funding available associated with meeting benchmarks.
Yeah, it is a really common question, and we are very much aware the budgets are extremely tight in schools. So schools, trusts and local authorities and further education providers currently make decisions about how they use technology for learning and how they manage their own technology budgets. Our planned technology for your school service, which Adam spoke about and Sasha demonstrated for us, supports schools to plan and spend their technology budget effectively. Aside from that, between 2021 and 2025, the department is delivering £250 million of funding to ensure that every school has access to gigabit capable internet infrastructure and to improve connectivity to over 3,700 schools in particular areas that have been identified with higher needs. We do understand that schools will face barriers and can face barriers to meeting the standards, which is why we have committed to that additional funding as well. But we do really encourage schools to make use of the digital and technology standards and plan technology for your school so that they can put that planning process into place and make the most of the budget that they have available.
Yeah, Laura, Pam, if it's okay, I'll just come in on that as well and just elaborate a little bit on where plan technology for your school can support schools in that space. So we're very aware that a lot of technology is very expensive for a lot of schools, and the way that plan technology for your school can help is that by coming up with a more strategic approach to how schools spend on tech is a way to breaking out of a cycle where maybe schools are feeling that they're having to be reactive to replace solutions or technology as and when it breaks or becomes problematic within a school. So coming up with a plan and a strategy can support that efficiency over the longer term and reduce the cost of technology over the long term. And that's really where we're trying to support schools with that service plan technology for your schools to make better use of that planning.
It's really helpful. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Lara. Yeah, quite a long one here. In the plan technology for your school service, does this have the ability to manage multiple schools under a single login? For instance, a multi-academy trust having a view of all their schools, but allowing individual school leads to fill out the majority of the data required for that site. How easily can the information be shared between SLT?
It's a great question, Pam. That's one for me for sure. So at the moment, the way that the service works is that individual schools are able to go through and complete their assessments as Sasha demonstrated. We're working on functionality within the service to be able to let a school that is within within a trust, to view all of those responses collectively. And as we talked about at the time, we're expanding on the functionality of the service throughout the course of the year. It's not by no means finished in terms of what schools can make use of at the moment. So it's very much a need that we're aware of, and some functionality that we've got teams at the moment developing to introduce over time to allow better use of that view. There's a second part of that question, which I think was around sharing and collaboration. And at the moment within the service, you are able to, I think Sasha demonstrated, the ability to print out a school's recommendations. So there's a paper-based way that trusts could consolidate responses in that way, shape and form. And within a school level, you can also copy a link within the service across to share and cooperate and collaborate with colleagues that may need to help answer questions or respond to particular aspects of the service.
Really helpful. Thanks, Paul. We've got another one here. I think it may be for you. Can we have some more information about the patching? Can it be used on any device? We believe we'll have to buy brand new PCs, circa £500,000.
Hi, sorry, Lara, do you want me to just come on screen?
Thank you, Guy.
Yeah, sorry. So Microsoft have agreed to sort of provide that fairly cheap security patching for education institutions. So when it gets the security patching for Windows 10 gets switched off, that's going to be October 2025. You can get in touch with your IT supplier, or I think you can buy directly through Microsoft as well, sort of those security patches. There are kind of a range of other options of things you could do with old devices. don't know, you've got Chrome OS Flex, which is another type of operating system that you can use to sort of rejuvenate old devices that might not otherwise be able to use sort of Windows 10 or Windows 11 or other operating systems that require a bit more capacity. I'll pop the link in the chat as well.
That's really helpful. Thank you. Another question asking if there's a template or a framework we could use to develop a digital strategy for a trust.
Yeah, it's another great question. So we don't currently offer that within the service, and there's a reason for that, which is that a strategy for an individual school is dependent on a lot of factors within that school, which is why we're building a service to be able to react and respond to a school's unique set of circumstances, and then draw that all together into some more strategic aspects. But actually, again, looking at how we can introduce that in the future to allow schools to get a better view and draw together different aspects of a digital strategy over time through the service. We mentioned that it's definitely something that we'll build on over time. Just a quick flag that we do have some other templates that are available through the service, and they're linked across both the standards content and through Plan Technology for Your School. They're there to help schools where we do know that there's difficulty or complexity involved in coming up with a template or a particular bit of documentation, information asset registers, for example, from a starting point of a blank piece of paper. So we're there to try and help provide an offer that can give you a starting point for that. It can also help you as a school if you've already got something or a bit of documentation that fits that mold, to just validate your thinking and check your practice at the moment with what we offer.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I think that's just about all the questions in the chat, unless anyone else has anyone in the panel has any tips or hints to share. I mean, I know there's been lots of helpful links shared in the chat, but if there's any last words from anybody, otherwise we can move on.
I'll make one last plea, if I may.
Sure.
It's already in the chat, but we've put a link in there to anyone in the session interested in participating in our future research, help develop not just our service but wider ones within the department. It really, really does help us out, and it helps us make sure that what we're doing and what we're developing next can be centered around the experiences of schools. That's very much what we're trying to achieve here. So I'd encourage anyone, if you are interested, please do go back and sign up through that. We have got some research that we'll be doing in January and February, and we're really keen for participants to take part in that. So I'd encourage anyone to go back and have a little look at that, or by all means share it with colleagues within your school.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much to all of the team for that presentation, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Just before you leave, just quickly, if we can let you know what's coming up in the new year. In January, we have the annual accounts return, and February, we have a session on counter fraud. So that just leaves me to wish you all a restful period over the coming weeks, and look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. Thank you very much.